late Michael Cimino's story is another Hollywood cautionary tale. Young, hip, independent directors who just throw them some money and maybe they'll make something that the young audience will want to pay to see. That was the world that Cimino grew out of, and his talent crested when Star Wars and Spielberg were all the rage. Cimino made expensive movies that maybe aren't worth all the craziness and agony that went with working with this auteur, but his movies are substantial. Reading Cimino, The Deer Hunter, Heaven's Gate, and The Price of Vision by Charles Elton, I kept wondering about the kind of talent that seeks out Hollywood, and how the industry now seems like a machine designed to crush anything shocking or thought-provoking, and people like Cimino, right or wrong, are blamed for that, because he spent a lot of money and didn't make a lot of money for the studio. Tell them what they want to hear, then do what you want, Cimino said about dealing with the studios. After a career in New York advertising and co-writing Silent Running, Cimino became a director on the Clint Eastwood flick Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Though he was the director, Eastwood was in charge, even back then, usually being cooperative but sometimes telling Cimino they'd successfully completed a shot or a scene and it was time to move on. For the first and last time in his directing career, Cimino did exactly as the star told him, and he got a box office hit his first time at bat. After a couple of years doing nothing much, Cimino was asked to work on a screenplay about Russian roulette. Jump ahead to the development, which resulted in a screenplay that stayed relatively untouched once it was settled on. The biggest change to The Deer Hunter, switching the actions of Robert De Niro's and Christopher Walken's characters in the second half of the script, didn't require a big rewrite. They simply switched the names on the screenplay manuscript itself. Cimino tried to credit hog the screenplay, but as Elton points out, directors trying to keep all the credit is nothing new. Doesn't excuse it, it's just saying that it's the way it goes in Hollywood. Cimino was a diva director without having earned that right. He just did it. After being dismissed from The Deer Hunter, Derek Washburn went back to his carpentry career, where he's been a success. He hadn't spoken to Cimino since 1977, but he told Elton if Cimino had ever asked him to collaborate again, he'd, quote, drop everything and be on the next plane. Cimino had that kind of effect on the people he worked with and abused. He had that film spark in him. Actors especially are drawn to that spark. Charles Elton writes that actors tend to develop Stockholm Syndrome and side with the director because they've already decided to trust this guy with their career. But the crew is a different story. They're working people. This is their job, and they work hard at it, and they get paid well. But they know that they're not the stars, and they know the director's going to treat them differently. On The Deer Hunter, without a Clint Eastwood reining him in, Cimino became who he really was, a manipulative, creative, and especially driven artist. Cimino wanted to make something. He was a user, he was a flake, but he wasn't just those things, which makes him different from the folks who make movies that make money but create garbage. The Deer Hunter crew did not like Cimino or his producer, best friend, sometimes girlfriend, Joanne Corelli, who were both very dismissive, sucking up to stars but treating working people in the movie like shit. De Niro was not the first choice for the lead. Roy Scheider agreed to do it, but he didn't like the ending. Cimino let it be known he didn't want Scheider, so Scheider left, and the studio was fine with that. Scheider had turned down Jaws 2, but now that he quit Deer Hunter, he owed Universal a movie and had to do Jaws 2. Cimino was an unhinged artist, but he was an artist. That he didn't find the right producers, the right studio people who could support his work, but had the taste to know when he was going off the deep end, like with his endless Harvard and roller rink scenes in Heaven's Gate. That was his fatal flaw. Reading Cimino, The Deer Hunter, Heaven's Gate, and The Price of Vision by Charles Elton makes you wonder just how many good movies we've lost because no one wanted to be held responsible for anything going wrong. He said he had written 50 screenplays that were never produced. Cimino ended his days not having made a movie in 20 years. That's a shame. Thanks for stopping by. Stop by again soon.